Hello, everyone, and welcome to this informative review of the Friendzy Social Emotional Character Development Program. Really excited to spend some time with you today. Thanks for carving out a few moments just to learn a bit about our program. Friendzy provides social emotional character development for students in kindergarten through 8th grade, and we really want to proactively teach friendship skills in our school buildings, help our students to develop emotional competency skills, and really build those toolkits of emotional intelligence to help our students better navigate the school environment and then also just better navigate life and relationships outside the school building. So I'm really excited to dig in today with you. And before we do, I just want to share a bit about who I am. I wish I could see your faces and get to know you today, but I'll leave it at I'll share about myself. So I hope I get the chance to connect with you down the road. But my name is Whitney Stovall, and I serve as a school partnership specialist here on the Friendzy team. So what that means is I get to partner with schools like you, share all about our amazing program, help you with implementing that program, and really just be your partner in this process. Prior to joining Friendzy, I am a licensed school counselor, and I've served as a school counselor for a decade in schools across the state of Tennessee. And I've served preschoolers through 8th graders. And I always say being a school counselor is the best job. It's the hardest job. It's the most fun job. And we get to do such impactful work as counselors. And so as all of us as educators, whether you are sitting in an administrator seat, you are a counselor, you are a classroom teacher, or you serve in another capacity in your school building, I just want to share that from one educator to another, I am rooting for you. I am cheering for you. I am supporting you because as educators, we are doing such impactful work. And it's all in all its goodness and all its hard. You are doing an incredible job. And so I'm hopeful today that you will walk away learning just a bit about the Friendzy program. And hopefully we'll see that Friendzy can provide some really helpful resources to explicitly help our students gain the skills that we know are going to help them succeed in school and beyond. So before we dig into the Friendzy program, I did want to share just a bit of data with you. I think this kind of helps to frame the why behind why teaching a program like Friendzy with our students is so important. So one of the things that we know from research, and if you've been an educator for a long time, or maybe you're fresh and just finishing up your first few years as an educator, one of the things that we know from research is that empathy skills have drastically declined in students over the last decade. And when we share this with teachers across the country, they typically are nodding in agreement, like, yeah, I see that. I feel that in our students. And the great news is these skills are teachable. And with Friendzy, empathy is teachable. So when we think about empathy, this is that social perspective taking. This is where our students are able to coordinate words, behaviors, and actions in their interactions with others. It's that ability to be able to see someone's opinion, see someone's perspective in social situations, be able to express respect and kindness in those interactions. When we talk in a moment, I'm going to share a bit about our SEL Labs Cell Web assessment that is a part of our Friendzy program, where you're able to do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. And in this assessment, we're assessing our emotional intelligence skills for our kiddos. And we're also seeing that climate piece, culture, and really understanding, how are things going in our school building and how can we best meet the needs of our students? And so one of the pieces of data that's collected in this assessment is social perspective taking. So when you look on the right-hand side on this data over here, you'll see in the fall of 2021, our students took this assessment, and you'll notice 64% of students assessed at or around average range, 8% in the well above average. You'll notice down at the bottom, just a chunk of our students down there in our below average and well below average range. Now, what we know is when over a quarter of students in the test in the below average range, what we see happen in the classroom is tension rises. There's more conflict. Our friendships are struggling. And as educators, while we have big academic goals that we are trying to meet, that we're helping our students to try to meet, when the tension with relationships is on the rise in the classroom, that profound learning is really not able to happen. Students are distracted by maybe those peer-to-peer connections, right? And so it's really important that we make sure that we're teaching these explicit skills to set our students up to succeed. And the great news is when we look at that data from the spring of 2021, we saw a 39% increase. So with Friendzy, 39% of students who scored below average in perspective taking scored in the normal range a year later. And we also see that increase in the well above average. So I hope this is great news and really kind of frames the why behind why this work is so important. So Friendzy is based upon 5 core competencies. These are social emotional learning competencies and skills that frame each and every lesson throughout the Friendzy program. So just to kind of give you an overview of our program, first, we want to teach our students explicit skills to learn self-awareness. Self-awareness is our students' ability to recognize their personal emotions, be able to understand, hey, how am I feeling today? Be able to identify their values, their strengths, what limitations they might have. So our students are going to learn to identify emotions, develop that skill of self-perception and identity, being able to recognize their strengths, and really work on developing that sense of self-confidence and self-efficacy skills that really gives us that I can do this attitude. Self-management skills is where our students are going to learn the ability to manage their behaviors and achieve their personal goals. These are a lot of skills that are going to help our students really succeed in the classroom environment. So when we think about impulse control, stress management, which we know is so important in today's world, self-discipline and motivation skills, helping students to persevere when things are challenging, helping them learn how to set smart goals and how to develop organizational skills. These skills are all going to be honed in on as they're learning self-management. Responsible decision-making, I always say, is exactly what it sounds like. It's helping our students learn how to make those constructive and responsible choices about their personal and their social behaviors. So really considering how their behaviors are impacting not only themselves, but also impacting those around them. So they're going to be learning explicit skills like identifying problems and really taking time to analyze the situation to be able to figure out how to best solve the problem. I also love that through this skill, students learn how to really reflect and evaluate how they've responded and made choices, because the reality is we might not always make the responsible decision. And so we want our students to develop the skill to reflect back and think, okay, if this situation were to happen again in the future, how might I respond differently to really help them better navigate tough times down the road? Social awareness skills is all about that empathy skill we just talked about and really helping students to show understanding towards others. So being able to take perspectives of others, being able to appreciate diversity and show respect towards others. Finally, relationship skills. And we find this is really the competency skill that propels school leaders to really be looking for a solution for finding a program like Friendzy, where maybe you've noticed the fallout of friendships. Maybe you've noticed struggles socially happening on the playground that are then impacting the classroom environment. Relationship skills is really just the ability to form positive relationships, learn how to work in teams. And when conflict arises, because we know it will, we want to help our students learn explicitly how to manage and how to solve conflict in really healthy and productive ways. So lots of skills on building communication skills, social engagement, helping students to learn how to cooperate with one another, knowing how to help others, how to receive help, how to seek help. And so all these skills together are really going to help to create a sense of connection, belonging, and a strong sense of self on our campus. As we look here, we really, as our Friendzy team, we want to support schools in a really holistic way. And so as you can tell from our program, we really want to form strong relationships on our campuses of the schools that we serve, but we also form strong relationships with the schools that we serve from our team. And so we want to support your students, we want to support your educators, and we want to support your communities. So first, through whole student support, we support this is going to think about our teacher curriculum. And so we have spiral bound, explicit, scripted out teacher guides that your teachers will have. Really low burden, but high impact for teachers to facilitate the Friendzy lessons throughout the week. We also have student workbooks. Those student workbooks are grade banded. And so your students will have kindergarten through second, third through fifth, and 6th through 8 workbooks that they're working through throughout the year. In addition, we have digital teaching supplements. So this is going to be things like pre-made slide decks, video content, any kind of downloadable displays that might be helpful resources to have access to and to reference as your teachers are teaching. So a full portal with digital teaching supplements that you can have access to throughout the year. We also want to support our educators. And so first we have professional development. We have a robust PD library that is full of resources to help equip you and your educators to best serve your school community. So first, there's an implementation PD that's going to help us understand how to teach Friendzy with fidelity and with really high impact. There's also a variety of topics in that professional development library you have at your fingertips. Resources such as grief and trauma resources, mental wellness tips for us as educators, resources on setting our classrooms up for relationships to thrive. So a variety of topics that you as a school have access to. They're video-based with speaker notes and facilitator notes. So it's really a great thing to use during like faculty meetings or professional learning days, or just as situations arise throughout the year. We also have continuing education. So we send out twice monthly teacher tips to our Friendzy schools, so we can send you some additional supplemental resources, some tips and tricks, all kinds of great things from our team of educators directly to your inbox. And then the CellWeb student assessment and analysis is that data that I discussed on the front end of this conversation, where we have a pre-test that we assess in the fall and a post-test in the spring. What's great is this takes just about 30 to 40 minutes to facilitate, and our whole school care team is happy to dive into that data with you and help you make really data-driven decisions as you implement the Friendzy program. Finally, through our whole community support, we obviously want to support our parents and our caring adults and help them become engaged in the Friendzy. Throughout the program, which we'll talk about in a moment, we have monthly themes and monthly units. And so with those units, you have customizable parent newsletters that you can send out each month to let parents know what we're learning in Friendzy and how they can continue the conversation at home. There's also some really fun conversation cards you can pass out in carpool or throw in a Tuesday folder. And these are awesome because they're open-ended conversation prompts for parents, as they're driving home from school or on the way to soccer practice or around the dinner table, to just have really proactive and healthy dialogue about what their students are learning. And then we also have a variety of supplemental website downloads, so things you can put on your school's social media accounts, all kinds of ways to engage the greater community at large in the Friendzy. So that's kind of our framework, our competency skills, our support for our school. So I want to dig into what Friendzy looks like in the classroom. So Friendzy lessons are designed to be taught teaching those explicit skills, that's those 5 core competencies, once a week for 20 to 40 minutes. Now, we know every school has its own rhythm to things and how things flow. So every school kind of does this their own way, but many schools might have an extended homeroom period once a week, or maybe there's a special rotation as part of the specials rotation, or maybe a special Friendzy Friday where everyone does Friendzy at the same time. So just kind of thinking through where might that fit best in our school, and our team is happy to kind of brainstorm with you and share some best practices that we've heard from other schools. In addition, we have daily reinforcement tools. These are awesome activities that take just 3 to 15 minutes to facilitate, really high impact ways to set the tone in the classroom and to really create points of positive connection among your students. These are designed to fit into normal classroom routines. So your teachers are likely already doing these types of activities. Think like warm welcomes or opportunities for students just to connect with one another and share and learn from each other before you get the day started or the class started. So they work great at transition times or at the beginning of the day to really set the tone. These are designed to reinforce those explicit skills throughout the week outside of that once a week explicit teaching. In addition, we have 9 volumes. And so we're going to really do a really brief overview over volume 1 today, where you'll notice that each month you have a new unit with new key ideas, new teaching goals. And so when we think back to those grade banded workbooks, K2, 3.5, and 6.8, every year you're going to be getting new content. And so you'll move on to the next volume, which is going to help keep things from being repetitive, but it's going to also really keep things fresh and engaging while each volume is continuing to focus on those 5 core competency skills. And it really helps to avoid that, we've seen this before kind of thing that we know students will do. And we really want this to be fresh and engaging for our students each and every year. Another piece that I love is our unified language and vertical alignment for grades K through 8. What's great about this is this provides an opportunity to create whole school connection and really a strong sense of belonging on a campus. So every grade in the school is learning the same content at the same time, just kind of differentiated in how it fits best based on their age. If you've got siblings in a school, it's awesome when you have those parent connections because parents can connect with their kiddos at home and kind of process, and everybody's learning those same concepts over the course of a month. I want to give you a quick overview of Volume 1, and within each unit, you have a catchphrase, you have key ideas, and you have a teaching goal. So for that entire month, so if we think about the beginning of the school year, you're kicking off Friendzy. For the first month, everyone in the school is saying, we need each other. This is your catchphrase. It's what you can display on your bulletin boards. You can say over the intercom when you have announcements, if you gather for an all-school assembly. It's a great way to build connection over that month. Throughout each unit, you're going to have key ideas. So you see here from Unit 1, we have the African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And then the quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which says, whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. These two key ideas are going to really kind of be woven throughout each and every lesson within the unit to kind of serve as that foundational piece behind the why of the unit. Every unit then has a common teaching goal. So for Unit 1, everyone in the school is working on creating a culture of building up versus tearing down. Unit 2, be kind all the time. Students are learning to show kindness all the time through words and actions, even when it's hard. They learn an amazing skill here called HALT, where students are asked, when they experience big emotions, to halt and to think about, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or am I tired? And to think through, are those feelings maybe making us maybe not show kindness all the time? And I don't know about y'all. I know if I feel some of those ways, it makes it more challenging for me to show kindness. And so I think this is a really powerful tool that students can put into practice. You first in Unit 3, students are considering the needs of others in addition to considering their own. Unit 4 is called Teamwork Makes the Dream Work. So all month we're working on unifying the class through working together as a team, and we're honoring each member's individual contribution. Unit 5 is called Watch My Words, where students are working on recognizing the power of our words, and so we will think before we speak unkind words. Reality is we know sometimes we might make mistakes with our words, and so with great purpose, the next unit is called Friends Forgive. In this unit, we are working on learning explicit skills to know how to apologize when we hurt others, and we learn how to practice forgiveness for those who've hurt us. Unit 7, we're talking about I am valuable. And in this unit, we're recognizing our own values and strengths, and we're identifying the values and strengths in others. And finally, our final unit to send our students off into summer is called Friendship is a Gift. And in this unit, we are recognizing and celebrating the incredible gift of friendship. And so in every volume, you have 8 units, which gives you a full year of teaching content. So just to kind of think through, if your school moves on to Volume 2, your first unit in that volume is called Better Together. So again, really community-focused unit to kick off the school year, but fresh and new for our students. Within each teaching guide and in the units, there are actually 7 different lessons within the unit. And the best practice is really to pick 4 of those 7 to teach for your once-a-week lessons. And so in the teaching guide, when we walk through it, you'll notice some are more explicit teaching. Some are using objects to be really visual in how we learn. Some are involving play and games. Some are more creative. And so your teachers, there's skits, there's all kinds of good stuff that teachers can kind of pick and choose based on their teaching style, but then you know your students best, so you know how they learn best. And so we really want to provide flexibility and differentiation in those lesson types. I do want to show you just a quick little snapshot of some of those daily reinforcement tools that you do have access to. Warm welcomes are going to be those tone setters. We have exit tickets at the end of the class period. You can kind of do that non-formal assessment to kind of check in with students. Book read aloud lists, opportunities for daily check-ins to have students check in with emotions. So these are those 3 to 15 minute activities to help to facilitate strong connections in your classroom and really just to reinforce those competency skills throughout the week.